Welcome to FitBody Lifestyle, the show where we dive deep into the world of fitness, health, business, relationships, and the art of living a balanced life. I'm Jami.
And I'm Greg, and we're here to give you the benefit of our experiences in the fitness and bodybuilding industry, the corporate world, running a business, personal development, and building healthy relationships.
Whether you're sweating it out in the gym, hustling in your business, or seeking balance in your everyday life, you're in the right place.
So lace up those sneakers and grab that water bottle, and let's get ready to transform our minds, our bodies, and our lives.
Welcome back to another episode of FitBody Lifestyle. We are so happy to have you here with us today, where we're going to talk about, we talked about the Arnold last week and the experience overall. And now we're going to talk about what happens post-show, and who better to ask about this than these two incredible, lovely ladies, athletes. Jordan Brannon sitting next to me here, Aimee Delgado, who is beaming in from home today. And of course, I'm here with Coach Drew Brannon and my better half here.
I don't know about better, but
Papa Bear.
half, definitely half.
Oh man. So we thought what would be really fun to talk about, because we discussed a lot about the show. We discussed, all the happenings that go on, but then what happens? Finals is over, helping the athletes to know, like, what do you guys do post show? Because I think that it'll help them figure out how they can, people are always asking, like, how do I live like a pro, act like a pro? Like, what does that look like? And I think this is, post show is a big part of it. So
it's everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Are we going to do a check-in word for this one, or?
Yeah, so before we get started on that,
there's the half coming in.
Yes, we'll do a check-in word for today. So who would like to start with their check-in word?
I'm curious. I'm going to start.
All right.
Is that the word? Curious?
That's my word.
Mine's hungry.
I second the hungry motion.
Talking about post-show.
Aimee?
Mine is excited. This is the fun part.
Yeah. Drew?
Hungry.
I have the perfect place for lunch after we're done.
Oh boy.
So we'll talk about that later. Or will we? We may talk about it
we?
later in
Maybe
this
we'll
episode.
talk about it now.
We may talk about it by doing it.
Yeah, yeah. So why don't we start by talking about the show wraps up, it ends. What is your first order of business? What do you guys want to do right after the show's over?
Are we?
I know. My first thing, I got to see Mama Bear. I got to talk to my Mama Bear, my coach. I'm like, I got to, no matter what, I got to find you, and I got to see you, and I got to just hug you and tell you, all the fun things after the show. Like we freaking did it. That's number one thing that I cannot think about anybody else besides Mama Bear first. And then second would be, seeing my family, Christian and everybody. And then just living in the moment of post show, like the fans, and then just being like, we're here. And now it's all done and the stress is over. That's like my favorite part.
Yeah, totally.
We can breathe.
Yeah, like we got off stage. And it's just a sigh of relief, It's like 10, 12 weeks of prepping for that moment. And I think it's also a little bittersweet. I know we all went back to the holding room right after we got off stage, and we all were just like, all right, let's take a breath. Let's take a moment, soak it in for a second by ourselves, because we knew as soon as we left, we were going to see you guys and our family. And it turns off ourselves at that point, and it goes right back on you guys, our family and you guys that put so much into us over those 10 to 12 weeks. It's a very selfish process, when you're the athlete, and that's where it's all about you all the time. And I really do think that it flips in that moment to, all right, now it's time to get back to our families and, the people that came in and supported us. I know I had a good amount of friends and family that came in, and it's about you guys at that point, getting our feedback and, hearing from you and things like that. And then eating as well. I definitely look forward to eating a meal post-show.
Yeah.
Well, and I was just going to kind of explain to everybody that the Arnold's an interesting experience, because the venue's pretty big. It's maybe 100 yards long from the back from where you enter to the stage, and the area where the athletes comes out is this area towards the entrance. You guys go into a holding room, and then you come out this little alcove, but all the athletes are coming out of that alcove. So depending on on your night, it was men's open bodybuilders and you, and then men's physique coming out. And it's interesting because there are people that know the athletes are coming out there, and they're all kind of gathered there. And so it's this little
It's like backstage at a concert when
Yeah.
you're waiting for the
exactly. That's what I was going to
Exactly.
say. Yeah. And it's a really cool thing. It's also, if you're claustrophobic, not the coolest thing. Right. You're going to be pressed and stuff, and but it's wonderful to see the fans that stay for y'all and that are there, that want to, they're very
picture.
respectful. They understand that you want to see your family or your mama bear or whatever first, but that they're just like there, and it's that energy, and it's pretty intoxicating, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It is. I know we had several that were waiting for us to give us gifts and whatnot right after. And it does. It means a lot that people take the time to wait, because finals is a long time. So them, taking the extra mile to stay, wait, make sure that they give us that word of encouragement on how we did or how we impacted them. Those are the moments that we remember forever.
I seem to remember there was like maybe a slice of pizza involved.
Yeah.
You too?
Yeah.
You didn't see them? They were like they were eating a piece of pizza as they were walking out of the backstage area. Oh yeah.
They had a whole buffet for us with brownies, hamburgers, pizza, like little pastries,
Chicken
and
tenders.
You could smell that thing from the whole backstage. Oh my gosh.
That's
It was so
cool.
good.
Yeah, we were like, all right, we got to go see everybody, but first, let's go get a slice of pizza.
Priorities, yeah. Was the pizza good, by the way?
I think anything tastes
Or
good.
didn't matter.
At that
Didn't
point,
matter.
yeah, it could
Okay.
taste like cardboard. I probably would
right.
enjoy it.
You act like you were starved.
I wasn't. I was just very hungry. I was a little hungry on that day. Yeah.
You had like 130 grams of fat. Never mind. It's okay. I'm not.
Well,
this is
I
where the
think-
coach and
but
the
I-
husband dynamic gets.
But I will say though, like when you're this lean, you burn through foods. So even when food is high, sometimes, especially when we get food high again, the appetite can kind of kick
We
up.
also talk about too, which goes into, post show, is fullness here and then fullness here, right? 130 grams of fat of coconut oil is really not that appetizing,
Right,
and
right.
it kind of goes right through you. So
Literally.
yeah, you
Next
kind of
time-
miss eating
Maybe
food.
we need to add some coconut oil for you next time.
And building on that, there's the smell. The smell of the foods that you have not been eating for the past
Yeah.
12 weeks. And so, yeah, pizza's, unless you come to our room and you smell it there, but it's that smell of those things that are, bodybuilder delicacies in that sense, is that you haven't been. It's not that you can't have those foods. It's just that they're not part of the plan.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, hey, the show is done, I've done my job and everything. I love what you said, Jay, is that there's the full in your stomach, but then there's the full in your head. And psychologically, it's almost like the reward.
Absolutely.
And I think we all can say the same thing. We do not believe in cheat meals, but we do believe in earned meals.
Yes.
And the way you guys put up on stage, you earn that.
Yes.
So you earn that pizza big
Yeah.
time.
Well, so my question to you guys is, okay, there was all the things on the buffet that you could have chosen from. Why did you choose a piece of pizza?
To me, it just looked very good. It was pepperoni. It was a little crispy. It had a little bit of oil on it. Just looked very delicious. And we just took the one, and then we left. And
Yeah.
and we could carry it with our hands, because we were kind of like, let's go, we got to go. And it was just a grab and go.
Yeah, the pizza was just easiest, but it was the one thing that smelled the entire back
That's true.
back entrance thing. All you could smell is pizza, so you're just like, oh, I want pizza.
Yep.
That's
true.
awesome.
That's true.
I know smells will get you. Mm-hmm. That's the olfactory senses are going on. But I was, what I was getting at too. Drew and I share a brain, so it's a really big one though.
Help. Please.
Really big one.
As the wife and the athlete, help.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh!
You're welcome.
Hi, Christian.
He went down.
I don't know. Does everybody know why everybody's laughing? I don't know.
Because he just peeked around you. He just peeked around you, Amy. But no, what I was getting at is like, as opposed to maybe something that was more sugary. So why would you choose something a little more savory over something more sugary right off of the bat, off of stage?
I tend to like more
Savory.
savory,
you two
than
are both
sweet.
the same post show, actually. Like, you both
Like my ideal post-show meal is a really nice piece of steak with like a potato, like some sort of like really good carb source, and like a dirty martini. Like that is like my ideal post-show. Like I don't really want dessert. I'll have dessert, but it's not like what I'm like, oh, I want a piece of cake right now. Like I just really want like a nice, filling, satiating meal. That's what I go for.
How about you, Ames?
I feel like I eat so much that it's hard for me to eat full meals after show. Like even the day after show, I only had 2 full meals that day, and it's because it's just you're not used to eating that food. Those foods have extra ingredients, extra flavors, and like it's really satisfying. But it's for me, it's always been hard. But I think it's just because I have to eat so much in prep, in off season. I'm always eating a lot, and I'm not used to not eating. So those cravings and those, especially with sugar, are never there. They were there in my NPC days for sure. I used to hide a little pie under a bag of salad in my fridge and have little bites throughout prep. But now it's like, I think it's just, we're so focused, and we know that there's never going to be an end goal. When you step off stage, I have another goal in mind. This is like a lifestyle. So when you adopt that lifestyle, it just becomes second nature. And sugar, I didn't even have any dessert post-show at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, I
then-
mean, you guys are very similar in what you like to have post-show, like a steak, like some sort of
steak,
carb,
lobster
potato.
mac for me,
yeah.
and a
Amy's a
margarita
mac.
for sure.
Yeah, and Cadillac margarita.
Cadillac margarita, always
And
got
dirty martini.
A dirty martini or red wine.
Preferably with a Grand Marnier floater for.
Yes, has
well,
to. If
That's
it
what makes it a
doesn't,
Cadillac.
But she doesn't like when it's mixed in. Sorry, I'm speaking for you.
I like to pour it in myself, and I like to, yeah.
Sorry.
So funny, all the nuances we have.
Where do the truffle fries fall on this continuum?
Well, Nikki and Kelly and Adair, they didn't have truffle fries at the restaurant we chose at the Hilton, so they actually ended up ordering me some to go at another restaurant and brought them for me.
That's
to the
awesome.
That's
restaurant.
cool.
Yeah,
Aw.
yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Cool.
Can I ask a question real quick? So just for the two of you in coaching your athletes, and we all know that a lot of shows put donuts or other sugary sweets backstage, and I know we're all aligned on the, hey, prioritize your protein, satiate yourself before you get that insulin spike with the sugar. What do you tell your athletes based on your own behaviors?
I mean, I try to give my athletes a warning. I do, the Thursday night or the Friday night before show, have a conversation with each new athlete of mine that's about to step on stage and has never experienced this before, and try to give them that warning and that level of detail and encouragement on how to handle post-show. However, I do think that trial and error is what really helps, with the post-show process. I can think of all, amateurs, and I think 9 out of 10, screw up their first reverse diet, and I know for me, I've done this probably 5 or 6 times now, and I screwed up the first 3 or 4 of them, and what you do is you screw up, but you learn a little bit better every time on how to,
What not to do.
to change it. Yeah. I remember, my first few seasons, I would bring so much food with me in a backpack. I was watching and saving things on Instagram and ordering things, and the freezer was full, and I had 5 cookies with me, and then you get 5 cookies backstage, and before you know it, it's the end of the night, you had 10 cookies. Like that's the capitalizing effect, so now I don't even bring food with me ever, snacks post show. And somebody was asking me on Thursday, well, where are you going to go post-show? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not even thinking about that, but it's taking me time to get here.
Yeah.
So you try to encourage, you try to give whatever advice that, you have, but I really do think, from the amateur side of things, it is a lot of trial and error and learning, what works and what doesn't.
Well, but you've also learned, both of you, like the difference between being hungry here and here. And the first time you prep and
Stomach or brain for
right.
those listening.
Yeah, sorry, that's right. You learn to really be able to decipher the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And it's very hard at first.
Of course.
Especially and as an
It's
amateur.
very
And
hard
we
at
try to
first.
prepare amateurs and our true novice athletes, and it's one of those things that we can explain until they experience. Unfortunately, they're not really going to understand, and it takes a seasoned athlete to be able to navigate that. And I speak for myself as a coach. I'm always trying to check in on them, and hey, like, is your stomach growling, or are you just like really just thinking about something, and just help them navigate that and walk that line.
And as we talk about that, I think we should just spend a second just saying that it's not the stomach driving the sugar cravings, okay? It's the head. It is definitely the head that's driving that craving. And I usually tell the stories that whenever we go to Pittsburgh, we will whatever gate, I don't know what it is. I think it's some kind of conspiracy, but they always let us out at the gate right by Cinnabon.
The Cinnabon.
Yeah, the Cinnabon.
Yeah.
It's always there. And so I'll hit mid jetway on the walkout, and that smell hits me, and then it's like, oh my God, I want a Cinnabon. Not because I'm hungry, and I ain't even hungry. But the mental thing of that smell, and then the advice that I would tell people here is, as much space as you can create between the stimulus of the smell or the thought and your action or response, you're going to be more successful. And so I've now gotten, after a few experiences, because whenever I flew into San Antonio, it was the same thing. I'd always come out by the Cinnabon. And I take myself back to that moment where I did indulge and had the Cinnabon, and it was just not, it was not what I thought it was going to be.
It never is.
No, it never is. The stomach just did not match what the head was telling me it was going to be. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just I didn't need it. It was not a need thing. And so I've now, through experience and application of that experience, can rationalize myself. Okay, this is not a real craving. This is just something that smells good. And man, smell.
It's a real craving. It's just
Yeah.
you're not like actually
Right.
hungry necessarily. Yeah. What about you, Aimee? Anything you want to add that you tell
Yeah.
your athletes?
Yeah, with my athletes, the first thing that I like to do with them is educate them on the outcome of what can possibly happen, because some people just don't know what could happen, how the body is in such a sensitive state of wanting to store fat, wanting to hold on to those calories, because we've been depriving ourselves of those calories, depleting ourselves, and our body is like, give me food. And like you said, whenever you introduce food, that metabolism will speed up, and that's not everybody. Some people, the food will stick. And some people, they'll just burn through it all, and they can keep eating, So I do explain to them, if you eat this, your body is going to want to store fat. It's going to prioritize the fat because that's what it wants. That's what it wants. So I educate them on that, and for the most part, that really helps a lot. Them understanding, okay, if I do eat all this food, I'm going to pack on a lot of body fat. It's a possibility. And with the athletes that I coach, I don't coach a whole lot of athletes. I cap my roster at 30 athletes. So the athletes that I do coach, I do become really, really close with them. They truly become my friends in a way, to where we're just very, very close. And I help them pick their foods, pick their restaurants. I tell them I wouldn't go for Italian restaurants. I wouldn't go for some Mexican restaurants. I would go for more American, those Whole Foods restaurants, stick with those. I always allow my athletes to have dessert. Even the next Sunday, I tell them you can have any type of breakfast you want, as long as it's kind of like, within reason, not overeating. One plate of food is fine, But after Sunday morning, I'm saying we got to start tracking, and I'm checking on with those. It's really crucial, those 3 days after the show. Those days for my window is really, really crucial. So I'm checking their app. I'm checking if they're logging, and if they're not logging, I'm texting them, hey, let's have a conversation. What's going on? Because we're supposed to hop back on. If you're not tracking, how do you know what you're eating? How do you know how much you're eating? And if so those things, those are really important to me. Just to make those 3 days after the show, and then just making sure that they hop back on, and then that they have that good mindset. Because usually after those first couple days, that they're pretty much good from there. So that's really my experience, what I've had with my athletes. But I am pretty close with them, so it does help. It does help a lot because I have all that time to give to them too.
Yeah, I do think that education is a big part. I love that, because I do, and I know both of you guys have talked about how important it is to understand the why behind it and all of that. And I know for me, helping people to even understand hormonally what's happening. Leptin is a satiation hormone that's created in belly fat. Obviously, you have none. So you have no leptin.
If you've done everything right, you have none.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So as a competitor, you're not going to be getting those satiation signals. And instead, your body's sending that ghrelin to tell the brain, you should eat, you should eat, you should eat, you should eat. So it's kind of a little bit crazy making. And I know for me, when I started to really, truly understand those mechanisms, it made me feel a little calmer just to go, okay, this is normal. I'm not, because I know sometimes people think they're bad, or, these pros are doing it. I can't do it. Why can't I do it? And it's really, you guys have learned how to handle those signals and understand where they're coming from, so that, you're able to better, better handle it. But, the big things, I tell people to be careful of is, you do have to be a little bit careful of sweets, especially if you haven't eaten something else prior. So maybe having something a little bit, like the protein, something that's going to sit there and, so that you're not getting that spike in your insulin and the cravings starting to go. And the other biggest mistake I made, when I first started competing is like planning vacations right after a show. So, like you guys are at the point where you really could do that and be able to handle it. But when you first get started, and you're still learning, I think it's a really hard thing to do because you want to just kind of throw caution to the wind and just have fun and just eat whatever, especially if people have been eating a low sodium diet, which, we don't really do that. I think that's more old school, but I know some people do still do it. But if they've been eating very low sodium and then they go out and eat a high sodium, they're going to feel awful, puffy and uncomfortable and things like that. So those are all things to kind of think about. Typically with you guys, you're doing quite a bit of sodium during peak week. So that makes it, I think, a much easier transition into eating like regular non-prep-ish foods, restaurant kind of foods and things like that. But I think those are all good things to think about.
Yeah, how many of us had a client check in and they're like, I feel crazy. Like, why am I still hungry? I eat a meal and I'm still hungry. And, I think Aimee and I are different that way, which is why this is really cool because this is going to give a different perspective. I can eat all the time. I'm never full. Even when we're carbing up on, show weekend, I keep giving me all the food. I love food. Amy's like, no more food, 50 grams of carb. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, give me 100 grams of carbs in a sitting. I'm cool with that. I'm a foodie. I love food, but you have to be very mindful of who you are. And, Aimee said this on the last episode, like being in tune with your body. And that's, at the pro level, we are so in tune with our body and understanding, okay, this is not physical hunger. This is a hormone right now. We've been there where we feel crazy too, and I'm still there where I eat a meal and I'm like, okay, I'm not satisfied. Okay, well, hopefully my next meal comes in 2.5 hours, 3 hours. I'm hungry. Exactly. So it's hard. It's difficult. And I agree with you too, Jami. I remember our first Olympia together. Friday night before the show, I landed it on you that I was heading on a 7-day cruise 2 days later. And your face was like that. Okay. And it was not a good experience. I came back 15, 17 plus pounds over my stage weight. I wasn't prepared yet. Yeah. Well, I think some body fat too.
Yeah. There was some, definitely. And I do think it bears mention that the dynamic that we're talking about with Aimee and oh, wow. Sorry about that. The dynamic that we're talking about with Aimee and Jordan is a little bit different on the amateur level. And this show was different because in a lot of shows, in a normal pro show, you'll come off the finals and Sandy or the other head judge, Bill, what Tyler will be back there giving you feedback. So the waiting process to get feedback is a lot different for the pros than it is for amateurs. And if you're an amateur, you got to wait till the whole show's over. In some of the national shows last year, Sandy was back there after each division and making it a little bit easier, but it's something to plan for. And we tell all our athletes this. So if you're listening to this and you're one of our athletes, but if you don't know, and you're listening to this, plan for that. We've talked about this in another episode, and I think it bears reinforcement here is that come with a plan. Rice cakes, peanut butter, something to satiate you, or a little protein, to help get you through that wait to get your feedback. Because if you don't have food with you and you are just allowing that hunger to accumulate, you're just going to continue to, the mind is going to continue to build up these stories, and then it's going to be coupled with the hunger that you may actually be feeling, and that becomes overwhelming. And because then you're just not in control. But it's really just putting that space between stimulus and response as much as you can. Stimulus, I feel hungry. Response, what am I going to eat or eat? The more you can be aware, and I loved what you said about when you're aware of your body functions and why you're feeling something that you're feeling, you don't put a value judgment on it. Because if you do put a value judgment and say, I'm bad for being hungry, well, that puts you into a negative feedback loop where if you do have that cookie or something, because then you get the effort mentality because your brain is taking over and telling you stories. So it's not a value judgment. It's neither good nor bad. It just is a situation. Your body's responding. You need to figure out how to put that space so that you can process it and allow yourself to process it to make the best decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, pack a meal. Pack a meal. How many times is there like a cookie vendor that's, out front So you're waiting for feedback. It's really easy to just go grab that fast, sugary, sweet instead of just having something, get your feedback, get collected with the family, then go out and, have your dinner.
Right.
That's kind of what.
Yeah. And a lot of
I
times
usually-
even the promoters will have well, I mean, you guys had a full-on spread apparently backstage, but I mean, most of the time
Well,
they'll have
Wasatch
donuts or
has the-
cookies or
yeah.
something Wasatch has the donut wall, so that's where, having the meal with you. And that way, if you do want to have a bite of a donut or whatever, like Aimee always makes me eat a donut at the Wasatch.
It's our tradition photo. I hold up a donut and then she opens her mouth and takes a bite. So only one bite I force her.
It's always a blue one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's FitBody.
It has to be blue.
But no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So, I mean, it's all about, I think, balance, but being prepared, I think, is the key. And, and I also know that a lot of times when people don't bring the meal, they're so hungry and then they don't stay for feedback, which is a huge opportunity. There's nothing like that face-to-face feedback where you can actually interact with the judges and ask them questions. So, I definitely... Arnold was a little different because they were still judging and you guys were done and things like that. But I definitely encourage people to stay and get pictures. I know sometimes people are in such a big hurry that they don't stay. It's like you've worked so hard.
That moment.
Yeah, you want to document this. You've worked so hard. And so I know a lot of times we'll have amateurs, I want to go eat. And I'm like, yeah, but this is you worked so hard for this moment.
And then they say the next day, man, I didn't get that photo with so-and-so.
I wish I
Man, I
would've
didn't
stayed,
get that photo.
Yeah.
Because they feel like the food's going somewhere, and then it's not, right? But your opportunity to get a team photo and stay for feedback, that can't happen on Sunday after the show, right?
Yeah.
So just finish the commitment to yourself and into your prep and to your journey. And
Food is temporary.
Yeah.
Pictures are a lifetime.
I think too, the pro mentality now for me, it's not so much focused on that post-show meal. I think a part of the pro mentality is finishing the day like a pro, right? Finishing the day, getting
Well
the
said.
feedback, maybe just having a bland meal that night and then focus on the meal Sunday, going out to brunch with your family. I know Drew and I have an appointment tonight, a reservation at one of our favorite restaurants tonight, and we didn't really go so crazy the last couple of days. So just taking the time to finish it and then go get a show somewhere that you want at home, like one of your favorite restaurants with your family, with the people that love and support you when you get home. The food's not going anywhere, and communicate that with your coach ahead of time. Something that Jami and I have done in recent years is we talk about post-show way before post-show comes. We already have a strategy. We know vacations that are coming up, situations that are coming up. So I know in the back of my head, I don't really want to splurge on this meal post-show. I know I have one coming up in a few days, or we have a vacation coming up, whatever that looks like. So it gives you something to look forward to, and you already have that plan in place with your coach. You don't feel so blind, if you will.
Interested in changing your life or stepping on stage? Join FitBody Fusion today.
Experience the FitBody Fusion difference with tools, knowledge, and community support to reach your healthy and sustainable lifestyle.
We guide thousands on their fitness journeys, from seasoned athletes to those who are simply seeking a healthier life.
Our expert coaches provide personalized plans and unwavering support, empowering you to thrive.
FitBody Fusion is more than just training. It's a community. We understand the challenges of solo fitness journeys, which is why we foster a supportive environment where members encourage and motivate each other.
Join the FitBody Fusion community today and unlock your full potential.
Head to fitbodyfusion.com to sign up for a free consultation.
And do it today. Decouple food from fun. Right. Because the time with your family after a show should really be about connecting with them. Should really be about appreciating them for their support and letting them know what you experienced. I mean, I think unless we can get a good restaurant where we can have a good time, our favorite is just to go back up to the room, order DoorDash and just chill and connect, because that's when we really connect, and we're not so focused on that. Now, that said, I mean, if we can get a decent restaurant and go have a cocktail and everything, that's wonderful too. I'm just saying, be mindful of it. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. It can be, there's different ways to meet your objective.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised on yourself. There's been many shows where I didn't eat a meal at all, because you're having so much fun taking photos, talking to people. I remember my first Arnold, we got out of there at we were the last people out of there. Remember, Jami?
Yep.
I do.
The last one out of there, because it was our first Arnold. We placed. It was amazing. we wanted to soak in every single moment, get all those photos with so many people, and we stayed the whole time talking to Janet, talking to everybody. It was so much fun, and like no one was thinking about the food because the experience and that time together, and that's what truly was amazing. And then after, whenever we got to the room, we're like, all right, I just got to eat my meal too again, because that's all I got. And sometimes the Uber Eats is not even worth it, and it's like, and like I've been satisfied many times just doing that. And sometimes you don't even like care about the food because, again, like Jordan said, it's always going to be there when you're done. Like that restaurant's always going to be open.
Yeah. I think I want to shift a little bit into, so we're talking about like navigating post-show meal and then, potential strategies. We get home Sunday and we talked about like a date night for you and I, for example, tonight, Monday night, and it's getting connected then with the people around you that I don't want to say, what's the right word? What am I trying to say?
That you haven't gotten to connect with as much.
Yeah, with
It's
those relationships,
reconnect
with some of those relationships that taken a hit during prep. And I think that's something that obviously you and I can talk about pretty easily because from a coach to wife, that dynamic within our relationship gets tough to navigate sometimes. And then, like Jay said earlier about getting home and then doing a nice dinner at your favorite place back home with your friends and your family, the ones that have been, just
respectfully supporting you, but giving you your space. And that's the thing, like post show, it's not about you. It's about giving back to the people that have given you that time and that space,
Yeah. I mean, it's challenging. Like you guys put everything into these preps. Like it's all encompassing. So, I mean, it's hard. I think beyond like, your partner and in your case, Aimee, your daughter, it's like, beyond that, it's really hard to give much, especially towards the end of prep where you guys are so focused. Every moment of your day is accounted for. So you're right. I mean, it's like at that point,
you can have a bad meal, but enjoy it with the people around you.
Right.
And it's worth it.
You're exactly right because again, decoupling food from fun.
Yeah.
It's not about the food; it's about the relationships. And I think you talked about this is that bodybuilding is a very individual sport. It's you on the stage, and it's you versus you. And yet, the support that you get, the structure that you get, the love that you get, and I love seeing Christian crawl around the crowd. He's like low crawling in the back. It's
every
awesome.
time he does, I'm like laughing.
He thinks he's being all stealthy. Just walk in, man. It's okay. We don't mind if you're on camera. And
we love Christian.
It's that concept of great accomplishments are not made by great individuals; they are made by great teams. And it's that team that you put around you. Aimee, I ain't gonna be on stage with you. Jamie's not gonna be on stage with you or Jordan. But I know as you're on stage, we're there with you, and we're surrounding you with our spirit, our love, and our heart. And Drew's there, and I mean, it's almost like you're going on stage and you have this whole team around you that's there with you. I can't tell you how many check-ins we get from other athletes that are watching you guys on stage and just saying, "Oh my God, they just are so inspiring." And I mean, this is a thematic thing after every show is, every check-in I've got today. Oh, the girls did so great. They look beautiful. They did, just great things around you, and that's what makes this sport truly amazing. But it's also the push and pull of, I got to focus on me right now. And then, oh gosh, well, there's all these other people. And that post show, just like you said, Drew, is really important to reestablish those connections.
I get a lot of athletes, husbands or wives, depending what I'm coaching, that will reach out and just like, hey, like, how do you guys navigate this? And it's always evolving with us in our relationship, and it will continue to. There's a time and a place to, add more on an athlete's plate or pull back and just wait for the time to be right. And I think I've seen a lot of support systems, I don't want to say sabotage, but
that's a good word.
I mean, actually, I think that's
it's sad when you know what I'm saying, like when a partner or a family member is just like me, I, and when that athlete's trying to grow and do their thing and grind, and I'm just like, you could see it happening, and it's tough to watch. I get the emotion that other partner or person is going through. I get it. There's times I'm like, man, I'd love to have my wife back, But I get it. But it's crazy when you watch like a prep kind of just go sideways because of a social or just like a lack of support for the athlete, and what they're trying to accomplish. And this requires a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice. And that's what I like to focus with my athletes most on. I think probably selfishly, for me, is just like, get back connected with your partner, get back connected with your friends and your family, make an effort to really do that.
Aimee, how do you and Christian handle that?
Like, Drew talks a little bit lower, so it's a little bit hard for me to understand what he's saying.
So just like kind of like how you guys, like kind of how you guys stay connected when you're kind of in the throes of prep, and then how do you like reconnect once finally the show's over and now you have a chance to spend some time?
I feel like me and Christian never not disconnect. Like, we never disconnect because we do everything together. We're like you and Papa Bear. Like, he's on the floor behind me. We're always together. We truly love doing all this together. He loves being there for me. He's such a selfless person, and like it's amazing what he does for me. But he loves doing this with me. He loves seeing me shine. He's that guy that's like, Aimee, your butt doesn't look as big in this photo. Can you push it out a little bit more? Like, he's always like, just encouraging me to be the best version of myself. And we coach together. We take Ari to school together. We pick her up together. We do everything together, but that's what works for us. Some people cannot do everything together, but we truly cannot be apart. And if we're apart, that's where I feel like we have issues, or like not issues, but where we disconnect, but we're never apart, and we truly love it. And that's just how we work. So yeah. I don't know. But there's moments where, the intimacy can be a little bit lacking there, but there's always time for that,
Yeah. I think that's a really good point too. Something I was going to bring up too is just, I think to some extent, a lot of times you guys choosing who you're going to have around you during prep and peak week and at the show is really important too. Because if you don't have people around you that are being super supportive, it can actually drain your energy, which you need to be able to give all to. So I know for us as coaches and husbands with, and on all those things, because we're all, I feel like, much closer than just client athlete sort of relationships. Like, it's very much like when you guys are competing, like, we're here just 100% to support you. Once it's over, then you guys get to, have fun and we get to joke around and be a little less,
serious.
Yeah. So I do think, like, just, for people listening, just sometimes there's people you really love in your life that are amazing and love you, and they don't intend to do this, but, they might look at like going to the show as like a vacation or like something else. Whereas for you guys, it's not a vacation. Like,
and that's kind of what's talking about sabotage, right? Because like, if they want to go have fun, or, why
can't you go to lunch? You just got done with prejudging. Yeah. Like, it's over, you're going to go up and find, like, no, it's not over.
Pro. Let's go to the beach. We're 2 days out. We can go to the beach. No, we can't go to the beach. Like, so I think it's hard.
Come back with a sunburn. We've had that happen.
Yes, we have.
not to you guys, but to other athletes.
Yeah.
Yes. Please don't get a sunburn before you.
I always recommend, like, less people is better than more people on your first show, for sure. If they want to come, send the audience support, great,
that's
awesome, right? But just to be around Thursday, Friday, check in, that whole thing gets to be a lot for an athlete to manage. And those last few days are so important, and they can make or break an entire. You diet for 16, 20 weeks, whatever it is for your prep. And then if something goes sideways 2 days out, like that would be really unfortunate.
Yeah. And even just having space.
Yeah.
Sometimes, for.
I think
I think for me, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I just think post show too, it's like, that's the hard part. And I know you were saying that too, Aimee, like those 2-3 days post show. I mean, like the week post show is so difficult, especially at the amateur level to manage, because the people around you and love you, they go, the show's over. So why do you have to stay so disciplined and committed? And it gets you a little bit in your head. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have a show that I'm prepping for. So, and everybody wants to see you, right? Everybody wants to go to lunch.
Eat with you.
Right. Everybody wants to go to lunch. Everybody wants to go to dinner. Everybody wants to grab a drink. And it's before you know it, it's 7 days post show and you've had 7 untracked meals, and I have been victim of underestimating the total calories that I take in when I do that, and also giving myself the okay to do that, and mentally, right, wrong, or indifferent, however you want to approach that. Is that best for you physically? Probably not. Is that what you need mentally? Maybe so, but what's the balance of that? And I think that's the learning process that everybody has to go for. I know for me, post-show at this point in my career, I can take in a couple of intuitive eating days and you're perfectly comfortable with that. We couldn't do that 2-3 years ago. You wouldn't have trusted me with that. It's taken time to get here. I know Aimee and I were just talking a couple minutes ago. She's right back on macros today. I'm not getting back on macros till tomorrow. She knows that's what's best for her. All of us have to know as individually what we need mentally, knowing what's next for us, what our plans are, and talking with you on, is this the right move? Is this not the right move? And communicating that so that we don't blow it post-show.
Yeah. I was just going to talk about another side of it, like not really just the husband side, but being a mother. We lose time with our kids. We lose the experience with our kids and making memories with our kids. And I know Aria, she loves Benihana. She wants to go to the trampoline park, and then after that, Benihana, and then go get some froyo. So like I told her, okay, we'll do all those three things. But so like there's probably something else that she wants to do. And I want to take her on vacation. Like I want to do so much more for her right now because I lost some time with her. Like Christian had to be mom and dad some of the days. And I'm there for the main moments that needs to get done. But I'm not out there jumping on the trampoline with her at the trampoline park for hours. I'm not.
I don't know. I saw a
taking her
video of you doing
food.
backflips, I think.
That was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
That's in the
I
backyard.
was doing backflips, yeah. But yeah, so there's things that I'll do and I'll compensate because we do have a trampoline here at home. But like there's lots of things that I want to do with her, and like that can easily take us off path just to get all that time back. So
Yeah.
being a mother and having your kids, and then that could be tough too. It is really tough because you feel guilty a lot of the times of losing all that time, and you feel like you just have to shove all these things in to make up for it, to make her happy, and so that could be very, very difficult too. And I've had my fair share of being like, okay, Arya's first after the show, she's first, and I'm gonna do all these things, and I'm second, So to learn through those things and to manage that, and it has been difficult.
Yeah. I do think that does definitely add that layer of complexity, and you do a great job of managing it. And I think it's great that you talk about that because I think a lot of athletes that have kids are asking, how do you do it? I know from a coaching standpoint, like a lot of the things that we're going to be doing is, putting our heads together, talking about our feedback, maybe even experimenting. I know Aimee and I talked about doing a couple of things like to, play around with her posing, play around with some things. Drew and I are talking about some things that we're going to do with Jordan, because post-show we have an opportunity. You guys are in contest shape. So if we don't go too far off track too, it gives us an opportunity to kind of play around with the look, play around with the posing. We can, sometimes we'll even do like a mock peak or something like that. So, when you do keep it under control and don't let things go too far, then we also have an incredible opportunity to then be able to benefit from, the post show. So it's something else athletes can think about.
I think that's where Amy's coming from of like immediately post show. She wants to see you. What's the game plan? What are we doing next? And that's what puts you on track as an athlete to know what that game plan is next. Oh, she wants me on stage in a couple weeks. All right, well, I'm definitely not going to blow a diet tonight, So having that plan and that communication, just like we always say, communication's everything,
I was going to say that one of the challenges after a show, in particular after a show like this where it's a limited number of athletes, is that when you think about the elements of the post-show plan beyond the meal and that part of it, there's the feedback that we get from the judges. There is the contextualization of the show, because yes, this is an individual sport, but your individuality is going to be compared and assessed against who else was on stage with you. So as we get our feedback, and this lineup is going to be different than the next lineup. And because it's a comparison sport, one of the things that we have to factor in is, okay, who's likely or who might be on stage with you the next time, and how do we then factor that into the feedback, your body? And it's a lot of variables. It's a lot of art. It is painting not by the numbers, man. This is freestyle, because how the feedback that we get about your posing, the feedback that we get about your physique is going to be different based on the lineup. Had this lineup been a little bit more hard, a little bit, more muscular, the feedback for you, Jay, would have been different, and your placing may have been different. And so, with Aimee, had Laura Lee showed up, had Maureen showed up, your feedback would be different because of who's on stage. So we have to factor that feedback into how do we then adjust and retool for the next show without completely making wholesale changes, because there's a context, right? So over-indexing on the feedback, because the feedback is always going to be specific to that show and those competitors that were standing next to you. It's why, and Aimee and I had this talk before the show, is looking at other people's pictures going into a show can get in your mind as an athlete. And at the end of the day, they can look like they're the Arnold champion until they get on stage and they stand next to other athletes. So pictures really don't mean anything. The only thing that means something and has value is when you're standing on stage next to those other athletes, and then you're compared, and then we can make decisions and adjustments from there. So for those athletes that are competing, I know it's easy to get surf social media and get those images in your head. Man, I'll tell you, that's just a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down.
And for like an amateur, I love when like a class B amateur will send me a class F.
Yeah.
Well, what about? I'm like, okay, listen here. So, like, we are
It's like a 5-inch difference.
We are comparing, like, well, her weight is this, and I'm like, yeah,
Comparing an apple to a banana.
you're very right. They are going to be completely different, And it's like I don't think some of the newer athletes really understand that and understand you're not actually going to be standing against that person. Hopefully an overall, but that's a little bit different, context.
Yeah. Also,
That also
the peaking process can change a look dramatically. I mean, a lot of times you'll see people, they're a week out, or maybe even they're a few days out. Maybe they haven't filled out yet. They might look super tight. I've seen people do this. Like they want to gauge off of that. Oh, but they're coming in. They're so tight. I was like, yeah, but they haven't filled out yet. You don't know what they're going to look like on stage. So that's where, it really does. It does require like training your eye, going to shows, learning, what are they looking for overall. But at the end of the day, each show is going to be different. It's going to be a different set of competitors. They're going to come in different. The situations can, like we talked about, how close the judges are to the stage, how bright the lights are can affect, how the athletes look. A lot of times when we're seeing social media posts, they're going to do it in anabolic lighting, which is like that down lighting and shadows, and creates a lot more separation. Like, there's just all these factors at play. So, I know we talk about this a lot, being careful, with the comparison trap and looking at what people are doing online. And, you got to focus on bringing the best version of you each time you step on stage.
So. I want to touch on something for that with the lighting thing. I remember Jay's first pro win in Charleston back in 2022. You weren't on site, and I was there with her and a couple other athletes. And we had left the room. You were so happy. Two of our girls were splitting center. And like I got backstage, and I called you like freaking out. I was like, they have no tie-ins. And you're like, Drew, like they just looked perfect. You walked downstairs, probably. And I was like,
This was before Drew had stage lights. We had them shortly after.
Yeah, in our room, we have a whole setup that creates like that stage lighting sort of situation to help us.
This is part of why I have, my lights backstage that I love to have. But I was like freaking out, and I was just still a newer coach, still learning like how much lighting can impact something. And I think we saw that this week at the Arnold, right? Just the prejudging lighting versus the finals lighting was significantly different. And it can absolutely change the look. So going back to that comparison game, who's got filters, who's not using filters, there's a lot of these dynamics. Stay focused on you as an athlete, continue to evolve within your physique, and just see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
In the end, I think Becky Clausen posted this on Instagram a couple of years ago when the bikini criteria which was always the criteria, but when it became more focused on the criteria, and she said, well, how do you apply this criteria? And she said, very simply, apply it to your body, and that your goal is to bring out the best of your body, so that that it doesn't say your body relative to somebody else. It says your body. Don't worry about putting Jordan's shoulders on your body or Amy's glutes on your body. Worry about your glutes and doing that. It's the reason why I think a lot of athletes get off track, because they're chasing something that's unattainable. Because if you're trying to chase something that is another person's body part, well, hey, unless we're doing a genetic gene splicing or whatever, I didn't even know how we would do that, but that ain't real. So chase what's real.
Yeah. And structures are structures. Yeah. Go ahead, Aimee.
I feel like that's what makes bikini. Bikini is the one division where you have so many different bodies and physiques that look completely different. different structures, and compared to other divisions, they all look very, very on point to each other, like with the muscle, the symmetry, and all those things. And that's where bikini can get difficult because you are judged based on who's on stage. So if there's more of a leaner crowd, they're going to go lean. If there's more of a fuller or harder crowd, just like what you mentioned with Jay, like it's going to go that way. So it's really bikini's just that it's just that one division that makes it a little bit more tough to gauge how you should come in based on the lineup, based on who's showing up.
Yeah. So I know we're around time, but I would love to know, I'm sure people would love to know what's next for you guys.
I don't even know how to answer that, if I'm being honest. I think all of us still need to talk.
I mean, what can you share?
I can share that I have signed a contract for Pittsburgh, so I will definitely be competing in the Pittsburgh. That will be my first time competing in Pittsburgh. We're doing lots of firsts this year. I'm just putting myself out there. And then from there, we'll probably be doing a few more shows this season for sure, and then shut it down before the Olympia. And then obviously my goal is to, keep improving into the Olympia, hand over fist. We have really great feedback from the Arnold, which we'll share once we process it. We just got it this morning. Super easy fix. And yeah, I mean, we've definitely grown, and we did what we needed to do after the last year's Olympia. My goal is always the same. Just keep showing up, keep improving, keep taking the feedback, and hoping it sticks at some point.
Ames, what's
Mama,
next
you
for
want
you?
to take over this one? We already got our plans for the whole rest of the year. We got our feedback. We know what we're doing, but she can share it.
Well, you have your contract already in as well for Pittsburgh. So we're definitely
Yep.
going to do Pittsburgh. We are potentially going to do something before the Pittsburgh. I just didn't know if you wanted to share
No.
that yet, or nope, we're not sharing that yet.
Maybe let's not share it today. Well, I'm going to be sharing it in the next couple of weeks. I'll drop some hints here and there. You
Okay,
guys
well,
will
stay
know.
tuned.
Stay tuned. We will be doing the New York Pro, the Pittsburgh Pro. This year, we are definitely wanting to go international. That's one thing that I wanted to challenge myself. I've never gone international before. So we're getting the passport right now. We just got our name changed because I got married a few years ago. So we really wanted to do that process first. But yeah, we're thinking about the Tokyo Pro, going to Japan in August
Super
because they
cool.
moved that show up. So that will be an experience, and I just want to go in there and just have fun and experience, like no expectations. And then of course, hopefully Olympia. We still have to qualify.
Yep. So that's the plan. Yes. So stay tuned, and you'll find out more about what Amy's doing next, and Jordan as well. But if you want to see them, you'll definitely see them in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, anything else you guys want to share before where to find you?
I am on Instagram at JAYY Brannon _ IFBB Pro.
Amy?
I am Fitness by Ames. That's last is AIMS. Fitness by Ames.
Yep. And then, of course, you guys can find them at the FitBody Fusion website. If you go in,
And their Instagram handles are linked to the FitBody Fusion site. So
right,
Oh,
or you
yeah.
can fill out the
Everything that I
consultation form.
have is all Fitness by Ames. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms. Fitness by
And you
Ames.
both have a really great YouTube stuff going on too. So if people haven't seen y'all's content, then they should definitely go check that out. And I'm so happy we were all able to do this today. This is amazing. So thank you guys
Thank you
for
guys
being
for
here.
having us, for sure.
Yes.
check out. Work.
Fun.
Check out Word. Who's first?
Still hungry.
Hungrier.
Hungrier.
Anybody else?
I don't know if it's
Mine's
Indigo.
ready.
Let's go.
Mine's love, because I really love you guys and really appreciate you. And what we do is hard. All of us work really, really hard. So, I couldn't do it. I could not do it without, the love that we all have for each other. So,
We love you so much.
Oh, you.
Did you get a checkout word yet?
Mine's honored.
Honored.
I'm always just so honored
That's a
to
good one.
be on this team, be a part of both of your girls' journey, and work next to you, Jami, every single day, every hour of every show weekend. Greg, you as well. Just the mentorship and things that you have done for me, and I'm so honored. I never thought my life would be where it is right now, and doing this. And yeah, that's what
pretty
we're.
cool.
We love what we do, man.
We do. And fulfilled is my word. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, we ready to?
I think we're ready.
Because if you want to be fulfilled and give your checkout word, then the best way to do it is to like, comment, subscribe, leave your reviews on our podcast so that we can continue to bring you this content. And we do really like to listen to what you guys are saying. And we may not get to it right away, but we do have things in the works to make sure that we're responding to your feedback. So a lot of stuff planned for this year. We're super excited. And I think this, I know they said this was the kind of the kickoff show. I know there was another couple of shows before this, but the Arnold really is kind of the start of the season. So, you know,
Goosebumps.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's just going to get the right. It's like on the roller coaster when you get right to the top, that apex of that first drop. That's kind of where we are. So we got to the apex. And then we're getting ready for that drop.
That's right. Lots to come.
8 down. What, like another 8 to go?
Yep.
Qualifications?
Yep. We ended 2024 with 8 Olympia qualifications for the 2025 Olympia. So,
Incredible.
yeah, so which was really, absolutely amazing. And it's just been a team effort all the way. And so I'm excited because we ain't done yet. We got lots.
Hey, let's not walk by the fact that at the Arnold we had 40% of the bikini athletes.
We did.
So 4 out of the
pretty
10.
cool.
And
Yeah.
you guys all represented so beautifully. Like, we couldn't have been more proud. So,
Thank you.
so
Thank
All right,
you.
everybody, remember the 3 B's.
be good to yourself.
Be good to each other and be
Be
safe.
safe.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to FitBody Lifestyle. We hope today's episode has left you feeling motivated and equipped to tackle your fitness goals, business challenges, and the daily dance of life. Remember to value progress over perfection. Life's tough enough alone. Find the chosen family around you to help you along the way.
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite streaming platform. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at FitBody Fusion.